Ooh, welcome back to Gangs All Here, our New York Jets podcast from the New York Post. Jake Brown here alongside Brian Costello. We'll be joined later in the program in just a bit by the legendary Joe Benigno, formerly of WFAN, diehard Jets fan. He'll join us for a big show today. Kaz, you're saying there's a chance. That's the meme that's been going around from Dumb and Dumber. The emotions have changed from Friday morning and me screaming my head off to now a place where the Jets are in a realistic chance of making the playoffs. Like CJ Mosley said, the football gods were at work this weekend. Everyone they needed to lose essentially lost, except for the Chargers. That path is done. That was a miracle path. The Chargers did win. Otherwise, the Raiders lost, the Titans lost, the Patriots lost, the Dolphins lost. And now 2 Jets wins in Seattle, in Miami, 1 Patriots loss, either at home versus the Dolphins or at Buffalo against the Bills, hoping that game matters and the Jets would get in or tie. We've seen a few ties this year. So if the Patriots do tie, that also means the Jets get in. So you have to throw that out there. Wow, what a turn of events, Kaz, from Friday. I mean, we all thought this was over, and sure, it's still going to be difficult, but it is no longer a pipe dream like Friday morning.
Yeah, it was crazy 3 days, really, Jake. Saturday afternoon, I was I was at Christmas Eve, but I was following along on my phone with the Patriots Bengals game. I wasn't able to watch it, but all of a sudden I see Patriots are driving. They get to the 5-yard line, I think. I'm like, oh my God, Patriots are going to win this game. They're going to score here and beat the Bengals. And then I'm looking at the phone. All of a sudden, the Bengals have the ball. I had to look what happened. Stevenson fumbles, and the Bengals win, and that helps the Jets. And then Sunday, obviously, you have the Dolphins Packers game was standalone on TV, so everyone got to watch it. And you're like, okay, Dolphins will probably pull this out. And then all of a sudden, Tua starts throwing interceptions all over the place. And you realize, all right, the Jets have life. My phone lit up at like 4:00 from all these people texting me about, the Jets are still alive and all this stuff. And then Monday, you get the Mike White news. And, now I think everyone around the Jets feels good about that. They got Mike White back at quarterback. So everything's going the Jets' way, Jake. It's all coming up Jets right now.
It's all coming up green, baby. And Monday morning, I believe it was, there's Woj bombs, there's Chef bombs, but now there are Kaz bombs. You dropped an atomic bomb to break this news. First of all, it's got to be a nice feeling. Like, I hope Chris Shaw sends you a text and says, good work, Kaz. I hope you get a nice text from our boss. But that's a nice feeling to break a little big news like that, especially news that got every Jets fan excited.
Yes, it's a nice feeling breaking news, Jake. The way I describe it is you ever find something out, Jake? You gossip, Jake? Do you like to gossip a little bit?
Yeah.
You ever find out a little tasty bit of gossip and then you can't wait to tell someone that gossip?
I mean, there's a lot of gossip I know that I'm not allowed to say ever.
Right.
Really.
But that's what breaking news feels like, right? You break it, but you're telling all these people, and it's a very good feeling. And it was nice to break that news. And I think Jets fans should be excited. It gives you new life. I think if you were going into this week without Mike White, you'd be like, what would they be doing? Would they be going to Joe Flacco? You'd be debating that stuff, and it'd be brutal. So I think everyone should be quite happy to see Mike White back there.
Yeah, and like I would not be looking up Miami flight prices if Zach Wilson was the quarterback in Seattle, or even Joe Flacco or Chris Streveler. So it's interesting. Saleh will continue to kind of coddle him, saying he's part of the future plans. That just seems like coach speak, Kaz, at this point. I think we're all pretty much aware. I know Jay Glazer put a report out there. There's reports that it's over with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
I think Saleh at this point is just trying to not crush this kid's mentality. I think it's over with Zach.
I think, Jake, they have to explore how it can be over, right? I think you're still a ways away. The Senior Bowl is when sort of the chatter starts the chatter starts between the GMs. I think Joe Douglas needs to see if there's anyone out there who's interested in giving up, a kicking tee for Zach Wilson. I don't know if he'll get to me, a 6th round pick, maybe that turns into a 5th if he plays, something like that. Maybe, but it's hard, Jake, because he is what is he at this point? No team is bringing him in to be the starting quarterback. So are you bringing him in to be a developmental quarterback that you hope you can get something out of? Because this isn't Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield that have shown a little something and then the teams are unloading them. He's shown nothing really. So think it'd be hard to trade him, and then you have the hard conversation: do you cut him? With 2 years left on his contract, or do you just bring him back as a backup? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, Jake, and I don't think they know what they're going to do yet. I don't think they're that far down the road. But the feeling after Thursday night's game was that this is over. It for both sides too. Zach, I really think Zach probably needs to go somewhere else to restart his career. It's hard to see him getting this on track with the Jets. The way that was pretty ugly Thursday night with the boos, and I don't blame the fans one bit for booing him. But I think it's tough. It's gonna be tough for him to regain the trust of the franchise and the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, Jets fans were booing with booze. They were drinking booze while booing because it was that kind of product to watch. The issue will be the financial side. The cap hit is 10 million, and then it's 11 million around there for the year after for Zach.
Yeah, they can spread that out. They can figure out ways to do that. I don't think the cap will prevent them from doing it. I think it's just a matter of that's a pretty big admission by Joe Douglas that he screwed that up. And can there's a lot of times GMs struggle with that. With lesser picks, right? Like, I thought they probably should have part ways with Denzel Mims before the season, and I don't think Douglas wanted to because he wants it to work, and he drafted him. And I think this is the number 2 overall pick, so it's a pretty big admission that you messed it up if you're going to move on from him.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out, but it's Mike White for now. Let's hope the offensive line can hold up. That's the big story here, because one more hit to the ribs and Mike White might be done. And then we're going, I guess, to Joe Flacco because Zach will be inactive on Sunday in Seattle, 4:00, Jets Seahawks.
Inactive in Seattle? Is that a sequel to Sleepless in Seattle, Jake?
Yeah. I mean, Zach could be. Listen, he could be a movie star if football doesn't work out. The baby face, he could do it. Yeah, we'll see. Is Chris Streveler? Do you see them? Keeping him active because he did look good running the football, and I think that would be a unique little set of plays against the Seattle defense.
I don't think so, Jake, for a couple of reasons. I think things kind of aligned last week for them. They had a lot of injuries that were inactive. If you look at their inactives last week, Mike White, Denzel Mims, Jeff Smith, Brandon Eccles, LaMarcus Joyner were 5 guys who were all injured. I think they expect to have some of them back. So the roster gymnastics start to get hard. And, they need those guys. White Wilson is kind of a trade, but if you have Mims, Smith, and Eccles back active and Joyner, it gets hard to do the roster gymnastics. I also think the reason the Streveler package worked well is Jacksonville didn't know it was coming. Now Seattle has a week to prepare for it. You kind of know what to expect when he's in there. He can't throw the ball. He showed that. So you're just going to stack the box, stop the run. So I think they'll probably put it on ice this week, Jake.
I don't think he's like Tim Tebow-esque throwing. He
100%. 100%. CJ Uzomah pass should have been a touchdown, Jake. He was wide open.
Well, it was a completed pass, though. I mean, I'll give him some. He completed a few passes.
Because he was like a wounded duck that he can't throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't Jim Abbott out there with one arm. I mean, it was still like
he has some ability. He looked exactly like Tebow. The number 15. It was like, holy crap, it's Tebow. It looked like Tebow with the Broncos. 100%.
I forgot it was number 15. It was a good call. I'd still like to see him active because I think a few of the plays of the game could make a difference. Throw him off a little bit, catch the defense off guard.
They'd have to figure out something else he can do, and he did play special teams in the preseason. So, if they could find a role for him on special teams, then you could sort of justify it. But I just don't know if they'll be able to make it work roster-wise with him.
And we're recording this Tuesday, a day earlier than usual. You already mentioned it, the injury report. You expect all those guys back this week?
Saleh sounded optimistic. The only one he said by name was Joyner. But, Mims has been out now for a couple weeks. So I think he could be back. And, Jeff Smith, I'm not sure about. Eccles, I think, would be back. He's been out for a while. And Eccles is a key player on special teams. So, it sounded like Saleh was optimistic that they were going to get a lot of guys back this week.
All righty. We'll see who comes back. And before we preview this Jets-Seahawks game, as we look around the league, because there'll be a lot of scoreboard watching, the big one we'll be watching for, and obviously Jets have to win out. We know that. But as we look around the league, Dolphins, Pats. Now, Tua looks like he's not going to play again, which it's getting scary with the concussions with him. It's hard to see him which affects the Jets too, because maybe they're facing Teddy Bridgewater again next week. Who only got to see, what was it, the first snap?
First play. Yeah.
First play of the game was he knocked out, and what was it, like Matt Carpenter or something was backing him up? Ryan Carpenter?
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson? I don't even know.
Come on, Jake. Come on,
Thompson.
Jake. Matt
He was
Carpenter.
I'm thinking of the Yankee infielder. Skylar Thompson. I should know that because my buddy Skylar Aston, pitch perfect, sang the national anthem at the Knicks game the other day. Anyways, the 1 o'clock Dolphins bat. So the Jets will essentially know at kickoff. Now the Jets game is 4:05, so it might be in the Jet. They might do a little scoreboard watching if that game is in the final minutes.
It doesn't really matter to them though, Jake. Like they got to win the freaking game. Like what happens in that game, you worry about that after the Jets game. Right?
But when they go in at halftime, they might say they lost.
But it's not like
let's go.
But it's not like they're eliminated if they're alive. Whatever happens in that game,
of course.
So I don't think it's not like that year with the Packers, watching the Packers game on the scoreboard. Or was it Jets Packers? We're watching the Patriots. Well, I can't remember what it was that 1 year, 20 years ago. So I don't think they'll be that concerned about that game. I mean, they got to win. They got to beat Seattle, or none of it matters.
It's crazy. It's the Dolphins, Pats, and Jets all going for one playoff spot, with the Chargers clinching on Monday night to the inept Nick Foles and the Colts. I mean, Giants fans are watching that thinking if we lose Sunday at home in a winning game, we should not make the playoffs, because Nick Foles did not look like the Super Bowl Nick Foles. He looked rusty, throwing picks. They were brutal. The other scores to watch, really, it's Bills-Bengals Monday night is a huge one, and so is Broncos-Chiefs. Now, the Broncos, talk about inept. They are a mess right now with Russell Wilson. I don't see any chance the Broncos going to Kansas City to win that. But the Bills lead the tiebreaker, so that 1 and 2 seed you got to watch for, because the Bills have a chance of playing for something or they don't. If the Chiefs win, which we expect them to, the Bills likely are going to have to play their starters against the Patriots next week, because they need to get that one, get that home field, get that bye.
What if the Bills lose to the Bengals on Monday night, though?
If the Bills lose to the Bengals, I mean, if the Chiefs win, they lead the tiebreaker over the Chiefs. So they still got to play in hopes that the Chiefs lose their final game. And the Chiefs' final game, they are playing at the Raiders, and the Raiders are no pushover. That'll be a tougher game in Las Vegas. So I think they're going to have to play the starters either way. Now the worst case scenario for the Jets here is if the Chiefs somehow lose to the Broncos and the Bills upset the Bengals in Cincinnati, then that last game does not matter. And then the Bills are playing who I don't even know who their backup quarterback, Barkley. You're gonna play Matt Barkley.
He's been I don't know if he is right now.
That would be the worst. So please, Chiefs, need you to win against the Broncos. All right, the game at hand. Yeah, I'm worried about the headline coming after this one if the Jets were to lose, because you already have the final punch ready. Geno Smith, the knockout punch. Two teams, dire need of a victory to get in. The Seahawks are going to need to win against the Jets, win against the Rams, and get a Packers loss if they want to get in, as well as a Commanders loss or 2 Giant losses, which isn't happening because the Colts suck. So the Seahawks, same situation, win, and they need help here. They're struggling, just like the Jets, losers of 3 straight. Jets have lost 4 straight. Do we know the broadcast crew yet on this one, Kaz?
I haven't seen the broadcast crew yet. I should see it later today, Jake. I haven't seen it yet.
I assume it's CBS though, right? So it's got to be the
CBS.
Yeah, it might be a Nance and Romo game, because this is a big one.
You think so? I don't know. Might be. I would think Dolphins Patriots might be Nance Romo though, right?
Okay, that's Ian and Charles. Fine with me. I like them better anyway, so I'll take either. But I like Ian and Charles better. The Seahawks are a weird team, because they were just like the Jets, hot start, 6-3. Now they're 7-8. The Jets were 7-4. Now they're 7-8. The Seahawks, they've beaten some pretty bad teams. They beat the Cardinals twice. They beat the Rams. They beat the Broncos, Lions. Their only 2 big wins were Chargers and Giants. The Jets have also only beat 2 playoff teams as well. So, these 2 teams are similarly matched, both pretty strong defenses. The Jets much better, and injuries will be big in this one, Kaz. Do they get Tyler Lockett back? Because this guy is dynamic. He is their guy in the red zone for Geno Smith. I'm hoping they don't have him back, because if they do, that makes the Jets secondary's life a lot tougher. Geno Smith revenge game, Pete Carroll revenge game. Geno 6 years later going up against the team that got rid of him. He was terrible with the Jets. He had a couple of good games here and there, a lot of turnovers. But like Pete Carroll said, it's a little bit of revenge for him after the Jets let him go after one season. This is going to be a good one. Preview it, break it down, guys.
Yeah, it's interesting, Jake. It's two teams that are struggling. Who can snap out of it is really the question. I'm looking at the Seahawks results. They haven't really beaten a good team since the Giants in the end of October. They beat the Cardinals and the Rams since then, and then it's all losses otherwise. So, they're scuffling. I do think that's a very tough place to play. I'll say that. I think the flying across the country, it's always loud there. I'm sure there's going to be a good crowd there on New Year's Day. They'll be excited. So, Kenneth Walker is another one, Jake. We're recording this Tuesday, so we don't have much injury information yet. Can Kenneth Walker come back? He's been dealing with an ankle. And Tyler Lockett, they got to check on. But, the Geno angle, I said it weeks ago, Jake. You can feel this coming from a mile away, right? Geno knockout punch for the Jets. I think the Seahawks win this one, Jake. I don't have a score for you. I haven't really dug too deep into the game yet, but I think the Jets, we're all focused on the quarterback, right? And I get that, but the offensive line is a mess, and they can't run the ball. They can't protect the quarterback. That's the killer to me. And when the Jets were rolling, the offensive line was playing well. They were running the ball. There wasn't a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They were playing great defense. The defense has played okay, but there's something a little off on defense too. They're giving up big drives. I thought Jacksonville really moved the ball well on them last week. I was surprised at how well they moved the ball. Can Geno do that? I don't think this offense is quite as good, but we'll see. They got DK Metcalf. They've got some weapons. I just think the Seahawks, I think it'll be a close game, Jake, but I think the Seahawks pull this one out and crush your dreams.
I will disagree with that. I think you didn't mention 3 words. Mike effing White. He's back, and the Jets are going to play behind him, guys.
Jake, he is 1-2 as a starter, right?
Oh,
Do I remember?
Do
I remember that? Well, here we go. You're acting like
he lost in Buffalo and against the Minnesota Vikings, both on the road in tightly contested games.
I agree with you, but it's not like it's an automatic W because you got Mike White in the game.
I'm not saying automatic. It's going to be a very tight game.
He said 3 words. He's lost 2 games.
Well, 3 words in a tight game. I get he's lost 2 games, but he didn't look bad in those games, and they were one play. They were Barrios drop away. They're one play away in the Buffalo game. Those were tight games. Now they're going up against a reeling team. Geno's back down to earth, showing us who the real Geno Smith is. Not that good. He's turning the ball over. He's got 5 picks his last 5 games. He's got a fumble in there. If the Jets could get that big pick, and, they've been craving that turnover that leads to point. Pick 6, fumble for a touchdown. They got the fumble with Quinnen early last game, but it led to just 3 points. Get a defensive touchdown. I feel like it's coming this game. I think it's going to be a pick 6, whether it's Sauce, Reed, whoever it may be. I think it's coming. This is the game. It happens. And Mike White, I think the offensive line is going to play for him. I think there's a mental thing here too. Like, I think these guys, I know you're shaking
the offensive line.
I think
they're hurt.
Play better for Mike White. I think they're going to rally around him because they like him better than Zach Wilson. No matter what, they're not going to say that publicly. They won't. They do. You see the reaction.
They're playing for their careers. They're playing for their careers, right?
They're playing for Mike White's career too.
They don't give a crap who's behind them. I think there is a lifting of the spirits with Mike White. I agree with that, but the guys don't play harder because Mike White is in the game. They play hard. They're professionals. They play hard every down, no matter what. Dwayne Brown has 1 arm. George Fant has 1 leg. Nate Herbig is a backup, and he's playing. Like, that's what's happened here. Connor McGovern is not playing well. Like, it isn't about who's at quarterback right now. They're just not playing well.
Kaz is amputating people on the Jets roster. Left and right, just chopping arms and legs off. I think it factors in because there will be some continuity, and that's what I mean. There was no continuity when every pass is incomplete. Mike will get those short throws. The offensive line will develop cohesion and goddamn get the run game involved. Like, run it 25 times and be successful at it. I know you can't run when you're not successful, but just run successfully. Please, Jets, keep us alive because I'm going to Miami.
Maybe they should make Streveler a running back.
I'm fine with that. Make him a fullback. Fullback dive with Chris Streveler on a big 4th and 1 in the 4th quarter. Lead to a Greg the Leg field goal. The Jets are going into Seattle. They're delivering Geno Smith the punch back. He is getting punched in the face back, and IKA Kapali is going to smile wherever the hell he is in the universe. He will be the last one smiling when Geno gets knocked out. Write that for your headline, Kaz. Jets 23, Seahawks 20, and they stay alive for the playoffs. Let's go Dolphins. Beat the Pats. Make it a win and in. And I think, even if the Pats win, I think I'm going to have to go to Miami. I think, let the higher ups that be get plane trip. Here's the issue I had. I was looking at prices after all the losses went our way. Spirit is so cheap, but the only things I see about Spirit are it's the worst experience. They end up a world star. Someone gets knocked in the face. Talk about the punch.
Knocked
out. Knocked out. That too, maybe in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Who knows? But they get knocked out in the face on Spirit Airlines. So I'm a little bit worried, Kaz, that
I don't think I've ever flown Spirit Airlines, Jake. But yeah, you get what you pay for, right? So
listen, the Post is paying, so you could get your American Airlines Delta. If they're not paying for
United.
me,
I got United. Yeah,
United solid.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm on my own, we might be on a Frontier or Spirit budget.
Do you own a car, Jake?
I don't. No. Okay. I can't do the road trip. Yeah, no car. So
how about a rental car, and you drive down to Miami?
That would be more expensive, I feel like, and it would also involve like a couple of day commute, and I'd be wasting time that I could be on the beach.
Okay.
So we'll see. I gotta hit up. Actually, before we started, I was going through my contacts and typed Florida just because I put people by location sometimes, and I saw like a couple people in Florida, but I haven't talked to them in
15 years. How about I crash on your couch?
Like, hey, Nikki, we talked like 6 years ago. Like,
what are you doing on January 7th? I just happen to be in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I happen to be.
Any updates on the engagement party? Has there been any further discussions over the holidays about your attendance at the engagement party?
I don't think I'm going. Well, there is an update because they're having this is like hard to fathom. They're having like another version of it in Atlanta where she lives, or my brother lives. They're having another one in February, late February. They're having they have my parents' one in South Carolina and then one in Atlanta. So I think I negotiated that I will go to the Atlanta one, but not the South Carolina one. So
2 engagement parties?
I guess one for one side family, one for the other, I guess. I don't know. Listen, wow. I think it's crazy. I would just get a 20-piece at McDonald's, call it a day. But yeah, wow. So I guess I will go to the Atlanta one in February when all the football is over. February is the quiet month for us. We just have the Rangers podcast and the show.
What about the Super Bowl?
Well, it'll be later February, I think. Okay. But the Super Bowl is still in line with Mike White back at Imagine Mike White, the Super Bowl starting quarterback. Just my birthday is February 5th. It would be a hell of a birthday present if that happened.
When is the wedding? When is the wedding, Jake?
It's during the Mets playoff run, October 21st.
Right.
So during the Mets World Series run is the wedding. So yeah. So yeah, I'll go to Atlanta, but I'm skipping out because Jets Dolphins could be a big one. Go Dolphins, go Jets.